This week in the Week in Review, we're going to be talking about science translations and how Google is backing some amazing efforts. We'll also be talking about the business community in Quebec, who is denouncing the latest French rules in an open letter. And in Nigeria, the government is involved in indigenous language preservation. We'll also talk about multilingual.com. Welcome. My name is Eddie Arrieta. I will be your host today in the Week in Review. Without any further ado, let's jump right in. The first news we're going to be talking about today is translation efforts and how the science community is praising Google for backing Climate Cardinals. Climate Cardinals is a youth-led non-profit that's translating 2 million words in the past 4 years. And in Earth Day 2024, it marked a turning point for them as they got 400,000 in backing from the philanthropic arm of Google. This is important because we are in a moment in history where a lot of the information is not translated into many languages, and we're talking about information related to science. So this organization has a network of 14,000 students, volunteers around 80 different countries, and this movement is going to allow the organization, this funding is going to allow the organization to be able to translate many more words throughout the years. For more information on this story, go to Forbes.com. And on an ongoing discussion in Canada, Quebec, we need to be talking about how the business community denounced the latest French rules in an open letter. And what is happening, for those that don't know, is that the provincial government in Quebec is updating yet again the information or the needs that companies need to follow in order to translate communications into the French language in Quebec. So different organizations have sent an open letter last Saturday, which include the Retail Council of Canada, the Council du Patronat du Québec, the Quebec Hardware and Building Supply Association, the Manufacturers and its Exporters of Quebec, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, and the Federation of Chambers of Commerces. And really what they are saying is that the rules that have been put in place and that the government is approving won't give them enough time to make those applications. And then the changes that they are suggesting, these organizations are presenting the idea that many companies are going to decide not to sell their products in Canada, which is a very interesting position. Quebec's businesses have already gone through an entire transformation, which was barely presented 5 years ago, are some of the things that they are saying. Some of them saying this is a threat to online shopping because some people will calculate that some people will just decide to buy somewhere else and not the companies that don't have the products translated. Now, there is also another opinion that's very interesting. It says, in an increasing internationalized world where supply chains are highly interconnected with the whole planet and suppliers are just about everywhere in the world, sometimes it becomes a little more complicated to set constraints without delay. However, some of the organizations in the French language ministry are mentioning that Quebec is an advanced society and it is a very lucrative market. And it says that if some companies think that they cannot localize their content to Quebec, other companies are going to find an opportunity. And then LSPs, or language service providers that focus on the Quebec market, are going to find an opportunity to differentiate from others. Now on to our third news. Oh, before we go there, you can read this in the MontrealGazette.com, and it's very likely that we're going to be covering this story in further detail in multilingual.com. Now, in Arise.tv, Nigeria is looking to follow the footsteps of China to preserve their indigenous languages. For those that didn't know, like myself, Nigeria has about 250 ethnic groups and approximately 512 spoken languages. Now, Nigeria recognizes that many younger generations are not looking to learn any indigenous language, and that is an effort that not just the government, but families and educational institutions will have to jump in to solve. Now, if we think about it, and I was thinking about this, it is important to try to understand how languages are working and what happens when a language disappears. And what happens when a language disappears is that many traditions and ancient knowledge disappears. However, this is also part of nature. There are many animals that have disappeared, and that's because of the nature of the world. In many cases, they've disappeared because we have failed to protect them and we have overexploited resources. That could also be happening to languages. So we have to be careful to understand what of these processes are natural and which of these processes are not natural, and how we jump in to protect, just like Nigeria and China have been doing it. And now, onto the last section of today, we're going to be looking at multilingual.com, where we have news from all throughout the week. Multilingual.com, we have news from DeepL that just launched an AI-powered Write Pro to supercharge businesses. Interprofine has also changed the name of one of its solution, and NITA, which is the New England Translators Association, will have their event very, very shortly. And ATC has partnered with Magic Beans to provide comprehensive AI training. Of course, Multilingual is covering these and many other news and press releases. And needless to say, if you go to our homepage, you should be able to see our latest issue. If you have not subscribed to multilingual.com, you would not be able to see our April issue, which is already being shipped around the world, and our subscribers can already read it. But you can check the March issue if you're not a subscriber. If you're a subscriber, you want one of your friends to be a subscriber, just let me know. Send me a DM. And if you're not a subscriber and you think for whatever reason you need a subscription and you are not able to pay for one, let me know. Send me a DM and we'll work something out. But the April issue, it's out there. We're talking about Earth Day. We're talking about climate change. We're talking about sustainability in our industry. We are talking about ISO certifications. And we have an amazing profile from Igor Marak and how a Ukrainian is building an LSP around the world. And that's that. Mila, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today with everyone else. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, leave them below. Remember, my name is Eddie Arrieta with Multilingual Magazine, and this has been the Week in Review. See you next week.